In the vast expanse of the galaxy, where hundreds of advanced civilizations flourished, Earth was nothing more than a small, insignificant dot on a map. Its inhabitants, humans, were seen as primitive by the galaxy's elite. For centuries, they had struggled with their own wars, chaos, and technological limitations. To the other species, they were nothing but a mere curiosity, something to study from afar, an afterthought in the grand scheme of things. That was until the Zorvaxians, the galaxy's most dominant and sophisticated species, set their sights on Earth. Their empire stretched across countless star systems, their technology far surpassing anything humans could imagine. When the Zorvaxians first discovered Earth, they expected it to be just another easily conquered, defenseless planet. After all, they had subdued countless worlds before, each species bowing before them in fear and compliance. Earth, with its unrefined technology and disorganized global politics, seemed like the perfect candidate for subjugation. The Zorvaxians sent a delegation to Earth's governments, confident that their advanced weaponry and overwhelming force would quickly silence any resistance. They expected negotiations, offers of peace, and eventual compliance. But when they arrived, they were greeted not by fear, but by something far more dangerous: defiance. The moment the Zorvaxians made contact with humanity, something they had never anticipated occurred. The humans, who had been dismissed as weak and primitive, fought back, not with advanced weapons or overwhelming numbers, but with a sheer will to survive, a burning pride, and a determination that none of their galactic counterparts had ever seen before. The Zorvaxians found themselves caught off guard, their expectations shattered. They had never encountered a species like this before, a species that refused to accept their fate. The moment humanity stood up to the Zorvaxians, no planet would ever forget it. The entire galaxy stood still as the humans, against all odds, showed the true meaning of strength. A strength born not of technology or might, but of spirit, unity, and an unyielding desire to protect their home. It was a moment that would redefine humanity's place in the universe. And the Zorvaxians would soon regret ever underestimating Earth. The Zorvaxians had seen it all. Their empire spanned over 1,000 planets, each one subjugated with precision and ease. They were a race of ancient beings, technologically advanced beyond the comprehension of most species in the galaxy. Their warships sailed through space with quiet power, their fleets unmatched by any force. Their society was one of efficiency and order, where diplomacy was handled by their most brilliant minds, and conflict was reserved for the rarest of occasions. The Zorvaxians believed in the superiority of their intellect, their technology, and their culture. They had long since conquered the concept of war, replacing it with the subtleties of diplomacy and control. But despite their power, the Zorvaxians had one flaw, a flaw that would lead to their downfall. They underestimated those they saw as lesser species. In their arrogance, they saw no need to fully understand those they ruled. Earth, a small blue and green planet on the fringe of their empire, was a curiosity to them. Its inhabitants, humans, were primitive in the eyes of the Zorvaxians, their technology rudimentary, their civilization divided and fragile. Earth had never been a target for conquest, merely a world to be watched, studied, and left to its own devices. The Zorvaxians were content to let the humans live in their ignorance, unaware of the power that lurked in the shadows. However, the discovery of Earth was no mere accident. The Zorvaxian Council had been quietly monitoring the planet for centuries, observing the rise and fall of empires, the wars that shaped Earth's history, and the gradual development of humanity. To them, Earth was nothing more than a blip in the galaxy's vast expanse, a planet with no significance beyond its potential resources. Yet, as the Zorvaxians expanded their dominion, they began to see the humans as a species to be contained, their unchecked aggression a potential threat to the order of the galaxy. A decision was made. Earth would be integrated into the Zorvaxian Empire. The first step was simple: establish contact with Earth's leaders. The Zorvaxians made their presence known with a show of force, massive, sleek ships that appeared in the skies above Earth's major cities, hovering silently and effortlessly. The message was clear: surrender or face annihilation. What the Zorvaxians did not anticipate, however, was the reaction of humanity. Instead of quaking in fear, as most of the Zorvaxian subjects had done, the humans resisted. The world's leaders, initially stunned by the sheer scale of the alien presence, refused to bend to the Zorvaxians' demands. The Zorvaxians had expected compliance. They had expected a few token gestures of resistance, followed by capitulation. What they got was a series of unified responses, a defiance they couldn't comprehend. Human nations, though divided, quickly set aside their differences to form a cohesive resistance, each leveraging whatever technologies and tactics they could muster. At first, the Zorvaxians believed it was a fleeting defiance. After all, the humans had no advanced weaponry, no fleet of ships, no deep understanding of intergalactic warfare. They were just a species fighting with whatever they had, which in the eyes of the Zorvaxians was pitiful. But the humans did something that the Zorvaxians had never experienced before. They fought smart. They adapted. They used guerrilla tactics, cyber warfare, and psychological strategies that the Zorvaxians were not prepared for. In cities across Earth, the humans engaged in relentless resistance, not just with weapons, but with their unpredictability, a quality the Zorvaxians could never have anticipated. Humans, in their defiance, proved that they were not weak, not primitive. They were resourceful and relentless. Every victory, no matter how small, chipped away at the Zorvaxians' belief in their superiority. Soon, the Zorvaxians realized their mistake. Earth was not a primitive, easily dominated planet. It was a world where willpower and innovation were part of the very fabric of its people. The humans had fought countless wars on their own soil, faced extinction, and survived. They had a unique resilience, a drive to protect their world that no other species in the galaxy seemed to possess. And in their resistance, they had awakened something far more dangerous than the Zorvaxians had ever expected: humanity's potential. It was a potential that would change the course of galactic history forever. And in the blink of an eye, the Zorvaxians would learn that their greatest mistake had been to underestimate Earth. When the Zorvaxians made their initial contact with Earth, they did so with the kind of cold certainty that comes with centuries of conquest. Their fleet arrived in Earth's orbit without warning, their massive ships cutting through the atmosphere like predators in search of prey. There was no subtlety, no attempt at diplomacy or gentle negotiation. They had decided Earth was ripe for the taking, and the time to conquer was now. From the moment they descended upon Earth, the Zorvaxian High Council believed that this was going to be yet another simple annexation. Earth, they reasoned, was a young, divided planet with no real defenses to speak of. Its leaders were scattered, its military power fragmented, and its technology centuries behind theirs. To the Zorvaxians, it was a planet with little more than resources to extract and territory to claim. In their eyes, Earth was simply another speck in the galaxy that would quickly submit to their will. The Zorvaxians' first attempt to establish control was a forceful one. They arrived in the skies above major human cities, their ships hovering imposingly over the landscape, casting shadows over entire regions. Their fleet was silent, massive, and seemingly invincible. The Zorvaxians began broadcasting their demands, expecting humans to comply with little more than a token show of resistance. Surrender to the Zorvaxian Empire, the broadcast echoed in every language, or face annihilation. What they didn't expect was the immediate human response. The global community, for all its faults, had something the Zorvaxians hadn't accounted for: unity in adversity. The first human reactions were not of fear, but of defiance. Governments quickly mobilized. National militaries began organizing in ways the Zorvaxians didn't foresee, combining their resources and technologies in an unprecedented alliance. Human ingenuity came to the forefront, as nations that had once been rivals now stood shoulder to shoulder, ready to fight for their survival. The Zorvaxians, expecting an easy victory, were caught off guard by the tenacity of humanity. The humans didn't simply surrender. They didn't fall into line, like the countless other civilizations they had subdued over the millennia. Instead, the humans began resisting, using guerrilla tactics, hacking attempts, and innovative warfare that baffled their invaders. They created makeshift weapons, cyber attacks, and disrupted the Zorvaxian forces with a kind of resourcefulness the Zorvaxians hadn't seen before. How could this be? The Zorvaxian commanders wondered. The humans' fearlessness didn't make sense. The Zorvaxians had expected easy compliance, not a resistance that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. For the first time in their history, they found themselves in a battle against a species that fought back not just with power, but with sheer will. The Zorvaxians began to feel a deep unease. This was no ordinary world. The humans didn't have the advanced ships, weapons, or fleets the Zorvaxians had, but they had something far more dangerous. They had the will to survive. Every strike, every counterattack, and every strategic move they made revealed something the Zorvaxians had completely underestimated. Earth was a world of resilience, a place where humans didn't simply give up, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The initial underestimation of humanity was a fatal flaw the Zorvaxians would soon regret. Their superiority in technology and strength was undeniable, but it was no match for the human spirit, a force that refused to bow, even to the most powerful of galactic empires. In their quest for dominance, they had failed to realize that humanity was not like any other species they had conquered. The humans had something far more powerful than technology. They had heart, creativity, and an unbreakable resolve. As the humans fought back, the Zorvaxians were forced to re-evaluate their understanding of power. Earth was not just another planet in the galaxy. It was a world that had evolved to withstand the harshest challenges, a species unlike any the Zorvaxians had ever faced before. And now, the Zorvaxians had to confront the harsh reality. They had made a grave mistake in underestimating humanity. As the Zorvaxian invasion continued, it became clear to the invading force that their initial assumptions about humanity were far from accurate. Earth was not the easy conquest they had imagined. Despite their technological superiority, the Zorvaxians were being forced into an unexpected and prolonged battle with a species they had previously dismissed as weak and primitive. Each day that passed, the humans showed more resilience, more creativity, and more resolve than the Zorvaxians had anticipated. Zorvaxian commanders, accustomed to swift victories, began to feel the strain of their miscalculation. Their fleets, which had once obliterated entire civilizations, were now engaged in a fierce, unpredictable conflict against humanity's resistance forces. The humans had managed to neutralize several advanced weapons, and their guerrilla tactics were proving effective in areas where Zorvaxian technology couldn't dominate. One particular mission served as a crucial turning point: the capture of a Zorvaxian warship. It was a daring move by a group of human fighters who had infiltrated an enemy vessel using primitive technology and sheer guile. The Zorvaxians had assumed that their superior technology would be enough to protect them, but what they didn't account for was the humans' resourcefulness. The ship, a symbol of Zorvaxian military might, was taken by a small band of humans, causing shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The Zorvaxians' confidence in their invincibility began to crack. The Zorvaxians, shaken by their first real loss, attempted to escalate the situation. They unleashed a devastating planetary bombardment, targeting Earth's major cities in an effort to crush the will of humanity. But what the Zorvaxians didn't understand was that humans thrived in adversity. Rather than breaking under the bombardment, the human race rallied. Civilians, once terrified and divided, now united in defense of their planet. Communities that had once been at war with each other came together to rebuild and fight back. The attack only strengthened the resolve of the humans, a stark reminder to the Zorvaxians that they were not facing a race that could be cowed into submission. The Zorvaxian High Command watched this unfold from their command stations, increasingly frustrated by their inability to subdue Earth. The Zorvaxians had always prided themselves on being strategic thinkers, able to manipulate situations with precision. But here on Earth, they faced something that was not predictable, not easily manipulated. Humans weren't acting according to logic or reason. They were driven by something deeper, a sense of purpose, pride, and an unwillingness to let their planet fall. In an attempt to force a quicker resolution, the Zorvaxians sent their elite warriors, beings genetically engineered for combat, to confront the human leaders. They were met with a brutal, unexpected resistance. The human fighters, though under-equipped, fought with a raw intensity that the Zorvaxians had never experienced. No species in the galaxy had ever fought like this, with such sheer determination and willpower. The Zorvaxian warriors, renowned for their strength, were overwhelmed by the humans' passion and ingenuity. This, however, was only the beginning. The Zorvaxians, having underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, quickly found themselves locked in a new kind of war, one where they were not the overpowering force, but rather a struggling invader. Their battle tactics, honed over millennia, were becoming ineffective against the relentless and unpredictable nature of human strategy. The Zorvaxian sense of superiority was beginning to crumble under the pressure of humanity's unwavering spirit. The true mistake of the Zorvaxians was not just the underestimation of human physical strength or technological advancement. It was their complete disregard for humanity's ability to endure. While the Zorvaxians excelled in manipulation and control, they failed to understand the power of the human will, a power that transcended technology, intellect, or strength alone. The Zorvaxians had expected humanity to submit, to give in under pressure, but instead, they found themselves facing an enemy whose determination was an unbreakable force. As the Zorvaxians' forces began to retreat, they were forced to reckon with the realization that they had underestimated Earth, and in doing so had made a monumental mistake, one that no amount of advanced weaponry or strategy could fix. Earth had proven that it was not only capable of surviving, but of thriving in the face of existential threats, and the Zorvaxians would never forget the lesson learned on this small blue planet. As the conflict between the Zorvaxians and Earth intensified, the once seemingly invincible alien empire began to falter. The Zorvaxians had underestimated humanity, assuming their superior technology and military prowess would overwhelm the humans without resistance. But every step they took, every attack they launched, was met with an unexpected resilience from Earth. The human spirit, which the Zorvaxians had dismissed as primitive and insignificant, had become the galaxy's most powerful force. The pivotal moment came when a small group of human strategists, led by military commanders and civilians alike, began to make a series of remarkable breakthroughs. They had been fighting an enemy that could block every conventional tactic, outwit their technology, and crush their defenses. But instead of falling into despair, humanity had adapted, and this adaptation led to a series of ingenious tactics that no one, not even the Zorvaxians, could have predicted. One of the turning points occurred when human scientists developed a weapon capable of disabling Zorvaxian shields, a technology the aliens had believed to be indestructible. The weapon was crude by Zorvaxian standards, built from scavenged materials, human ingenuity, and sheer willpower. But when it was deployed, it broke through the Zorvaxians' seemingly impenetrable defenses and struck their warships where it hurt most, their energy cores. The Zorvaxians had always relied on their overwhelming technological superiority, and when their ships began to fall one by one, their confidence started to wane. Zorvaxian commanders scrambled to adapt, but they couldn't match the humans' ability to improvise. They underestimated humanity's resourcefulness, its ability to create and destroy on the fly. With each victory, the humans grew more unified, more determined, and more creative in their strategies. It was no longer a simple matter of technological superiority. It was a war of intellect and willpower. On Earth, the response was just as profound. The very trait the Zorvaxians had seen as a flaw, the human emotional drive, had become their greatest weapon. Humans didn't fight merely to survive. They fought to protect their families, their communities, their culture. Human leaders were no longer divided by national borders or petty conflicts. Earth had become a unified force. It wasn't just the military that took action. It was every citizen, from engineers to farmers to students. The global resistance was a reflection of the human willpower that could not be crushed by alien invaders. Meanwhile, As the Zorvaxians lost their footing in the battle for Earth, their attempts at subduing humanity became more erratic. They unleashed devastating planetary bombardments, hoping to break the human will by decimating Earth's cities and infrastructure. But instead of submitting, humanity became more determined, organizing in the wake of destruction. They rebuilt faster than the Zorvaxians could tear them down, using the very technologies they had learned to exploit. Human unity surged as a direct response to the alien threat, a collective resolve that no bomb could break. At the same time, the Zorvaxian war machine began to experience unforeseen difficulties. Their supply chains were disrupted by the human resistance, and their communications intercepted by human hackers. The Zorvaxians, once so confident in their technological prowess, were now plagued by the human ability to adapt in ways they had never imagined. The Zorvaxian forces had been prepared for battle with other technologically advanced species, but human unpredictability became their worst nightmare. The true turning point came when humanity's leaders, inspired by a newfound sense of unity and strength, gathered to form a bold new offensive. This wasn't just a military maneuver. It was a manifestation of human resolve, a direct challenge to the Zorvaxian Empire. The humans, with their unconventional weapons and strategies, struck at the heart of Zorvaxian control, their command centers, their supply lines, and their military leadership. The scale of the offensive took the Zorvaxians by complete surprise. They had been confident that no force could disrupt their empire, but human ingenuity and tenacity defied that assumption. With every victory, humanity began to understand just how powerful they were. They were not weak, as the Zorvaxians had believed. They were adaptable, resilient, and unstoppable in their determination to protect their world. The humans had tapped into a deep well of potential they had never realized they possessed, and it was this untapped strength that would ultimately turn the tide of the war. The Zorvaxians, in their desperation, attempted to escalate their attacks, sending more devastating weaponry, but it was too late. The Zorvaxians' inability to predict the human response was their ultimate downfall. Humanity's heart, creativity, and resourcefulness had become the very factors that pushed back an empire that once thought itself invincible. In the end, the humans had not just survived the invasion, they had defeated it, with no more than the power of their will and an unrelenting drive to protect their home. The Zorvaxians would never forget the moment they realized that humanity was not just another species to conquer. It was a species that could change the course of the galaxy. And the moment the Zorvaxians understood, that truth would echo throughout the cosmos forever. The moment the Zorvaxians retreated from Earth, it marked the beginning of a profound shift not just for humanity, but for the entire galaxy. The humbling defeat of the Zorvaxian Empire reverberated throughout the cosmos, as news spread like wildfire to every corner of the galaxy. The Zorvaxians, once the unquestioned rulers of vast swathes of space, had faced a challenge they could not overcome. They had been forced to admit that their military might, their superior technology, and their centuries-old empire had been defeated by a species they had deemed insignificant. For Earth, the victory was not just a military triumph. It was a statement. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they were not the primitive race the Zorvaxians had assumed. They were not mere pawns to be easily played with. Humanity was a force to be reckoned with, capable of standing toe-to-toe with even the most powerful empires in the galaxy. And in the process, Earth had earned a new respect on the galactic stage. The galaxy, which had long operated under the assumption that species like the Zorvaxians were invincible, was forced to reassess its power structures. The news of humanity's victory spread quickly, and other galactic powers, who had once looked at Earth as a backwater world, began to take notice. Diplomatic relations with Earth shifted dramatically. Once dismissed as weak and irrelevant, humanity now found itself invited to discussions on galactic peace and trade negotiations. Earth, once isolated from the larger galactic community, was now an influential player, its voice gaining weight in discussions about the future of the galaxy. For the Zorvaxians, the defeat was nothing short of catastrophic. Their once dominant empire now faced the embarrassing reality that their attempt to crush Earth had backfired. The galaxy's perception of their power was forever altered. The Zorvaxians had underestimated the human spirit, and in doing so had lost not only a planet, but their reputation. What was once an empire that ruled through fear and superiority was now seen as a vulnerable force, incapable of predicting the strength of a species they had thought beneath them. Other alien species, who had long been subjugated by the Zorvaxians, began to look at humanity with a new sense of admiration. They saw the humans as a symbol of defiance, a species that had fought against all odds and won. Those who had once feared the Zorvaxian Empire now saw hope in humanity's resilience. Earth had become a beacon of resistance in a galaxy that had long known only domination and control. On Earth, the victory sparked a global renaissance. The unification of humanity in the face of extinction had been nothing short of remarkable. People from every corner of the planet, who had once been divided by borders and ideologies, now worked together for a shared future. Earth, scarred by war but united in its resolve, began to rebuild and grow stronger, determined to never again be caught off guard. The unity forged in the fires of the Zorvaxian invasion would remain unbroken for generations. The consequences of humanity's victory rippled through the galactic community. The Zorvaxians, still reeling from their loss, began to retreat from many of the territories they had once claimed with ease. Other species, emboldened by humanity's example, began to question their own power dynamics. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and Earth, once thought insignificant, now stood at the forefront of a new era, one where the will of humanity was as strong as the most advanced empires. For the humans, the aftermath was a world forever changed. They had proven themselves to the galaxy, not just through military strength, but through unshakable resolve, innovation, and unity. The legacy of humanity's victory over the Zorvaxians would be remembered for centuries to come, as the defining moment when Earth's place in the galaxy was forever solidified. No longer just a blip on the galactic map, humanity had earned its place as a powerful force, one no empire would dare underestimate again. The galaxy would never forget the moment Earth stood up to the Zorvaxians, and in doing so, reshaped the very future of the cosmos. The echoes of humanity's victory reverberated throughout the galaxy for centuries to come. The Zorvaxians, once the epitome of strength and dominance, had fallen to a species they had deemed unworthy of their attention. The sheer audacity of Earth's resistance, their refusal to submit, and their eventual triumph had shaken the foundations of the galactic power structure. No planet would ever forget the moment Earth revealed its true potential. Humanity's resilience, once thought to be a weakness, had proven to be its greatest strength. The Zorvaxians, who had approached Earth with the expectation of swift conquest, found themselves caught in a struggle they could neither win nor understand. They had underestimated not only humanity's physical strength, but the depth of the human spirit, a spirit driven by the need to protect, to innovate, and to adapt in the face of adversity. As the Zorvaxians withdrew, their reputation tarnished, other species took notice. Earth was no longer seen as a backwater world. Galactic diplomacy shifted in favor of humanity, and other civilizations, who had long been oppressed by the Zorvaxians, saw a new hope. The defeat of one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy had emboldened the oppressed. Humanity's fight had not only secured their own freedom, but had sparked a wave of resistance across the galaxy. Earth, now an ally and an inspiration, was considered a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. For Earth, the aftermath was one of unity. Humanity's earlier divisions, once defined by national boundaries, cultural differences, and ideological conflicts, had dissolved in the face of a common enemy. The war had forged a stronger, more united planet. Humans realized that together they were unstoppable, and the triumph over the Zorvaxians marked the beginning of a new era. Earth was no longer the underdog. It was a force to be reckoned with. But it wasn't just about defeating the Zorvaxians. Humanity had shown that despite their imperfections, their willingness to fight for what was right, their ingenuity, and their unbreakable will made them worthy of a place among the stars. The legacy of that victory would live on, and as the centuries passed, no one in the galaxy would forget the moment Earth proved it could not be defeated, and in doing so, changed the future of the galaxy forever. No one would ever forget the day the Zorvaxians learned that humans were far more than they ever thought, and Earth, once considered insignificant, became a symbol of resilience that would shape the galaxy for generations to come.